Drodzy rodacy,
Polish President Andrzej Duda, in a special address delivered on the 15th anniversary of the Smolensk tragedy, spoke of the great loss suffered by our entire nation.
prezydent Lech Kaczyński,
President Lech Kaczyński, for whom an important part of the public mission was to restore the truth about our history, gave his life in order to pay tribute to those whom the Soviets and communists tried to erase from national memory. He went where the enemies and traitors of Poland intended the lie to triumph over the truth forever. The Polish president also criticized the capital's authorities for failing to adequately commemorate the late Lech Kaczyński, who did so much not only for the country as a whole, but also for the capital city. Lech Kaczyński was the president of Warsaw for more than 3 years.
do dzisiaj władze Warszawy nie
To this day, Warsaw authorities have failed to name one of the streets in the city after the late Professor Lech Kaczyński, the president of Poland and the president of the capital. I perfectly remember the moment when the plaques with the inscription Avenue of Lech Kaczyński were taken down, replacing them with Avenue of the People's Army. Communist tradition was preserved, and the achievements of a president elected in democratic, free elections were ignored. The creator of the Warsaw Uprising Museum, one of the most important institutions for the identity of the capital. The word disgrace can be used in this context, but suffice it to say that, humanly speaking, this is simply unfair. In November 2017, the Mazovian governor, under a decommunization act, changed the name from Avenue of the People's Army to Lech Kaczyński Street. However, the Warsaw Council appealed the decision to the court. In December 2018, the name was changed again. On April 10th, on the 15th anniversary of the Smolensk tragedy, the people of Warsaw decided to commemorate the late Lech Kaczyński. Out of 26 plaques, only 4 were symbolically changed. Is there a chance that the will of the citizens will be respected and President Lech Kaczyński will be honored by the city authorities? Every year on the 10th of April, there are provocations organized by circles that favor the current government in front of the Smolensk Memorial, and the police remain passive and protect the provocateurs. This was also the case on the 10th of April this year. They attack, insult, and of course there is no reaction from the police. This is an unbelievable thing, and look how many police officers, dozens of police officers are here to protect this crime. The memory of the victims of the Smolensk tragedy should be above all political dispute. The Polish Minister of Justice in the December 13th coalition government, Adam Bodnar, has decided to share secret material with the Polish people regarding the purchase of the Pegasus surveillance system. I believe that the public should know as many details as possible about the purchase of the Pegasus system by our predecessors. That is why I have decided to present declassified documents on the matter. Interestingly, in the ministry's statement accompanying the declassified documents, Bodnar's ministry wrote that the purchase of Pegasus was in accordance with the applicable law. Now I expect Prosecutor Bodnar to follow this lead in the voice of Minister Bodnar, and for Prosecutor Bodnar to discontinue the proceedings which are illegal, since I acted under the law. The current authorities are trying to heat up the emotions of Polish people and the alleged scandal, which in reality wasn't there. Today, the government itself admits that there was no question of any mass surveillance, and the Prime Minister indicated that Pegasus was used. But after all, the Minister of Justice admitted that all operational checks were conducted with the approval of the court. Interestingly, accusations of illegal use of the Pegasus system were started by Citizen Lab, an organization based at the University of Toronto. The trail leads directly to the Russian Secret Services and is indirectly linked to the case of Colonel Paweł Rubtsov of Russia's main intelligence directorate, who was detained in Poland. operating under the cover of Spanish journalist Pablo González.
Prawnikiem tegoż Gonzaleza był człowiek,
Gonzalez's lawyer was the man who was the chief
Komisji
expert,
Europejskiej,
whether at the European Commission or the European Parliament, their pseudo-commission on Pegasus, or that Citizen Lab, a unit at a university in Canada, which was also vocal about the use of Pegasus. According to Professor Sławomir Cęckiewicz, the entire alleged Pegasus scandal created by the Tusk coalition is aimed at the Polish special services.
Bez tego narzędzia tajna służba,
Without this, any
jakakolwiek, czy
service,
taka
whether it's an anti-corruption,
antykorupcyjna, czy
espionage,
taka,
or
która się zajmuje
counter-espionage
szpiegostwem,
service
kontrwywiadem,
simply cannot function.
Po prostu cały atak na Pegasusa
The whole
jest
attack on
próbą
Pegasus
wyrwania
is an
służbom
attempt to pull the
specjalnym,
special services'
zębów,
teeth, so to say, to
pozbawienia
deprive
ich,
them of
można
their
powiedzieć,
senses.
zmysłów.
Dziś rządzący nie chcą realnie
Today,
walczyć z
those in
korupcją.
power do not want to
Nie chcą, żeby
realistically
służby
fight corruption,
kontrwywiadowcze
and they
miały
don't want the
narzędzia,
counterintelligence
które
services to have a
pozwolą
tool
na
to
kontrolę
control Russian
agentury
agents.
rosyjskiej.
It seems that Bodnar's ministry is trying to assist the illegal assembly of Magdalena Sroka, operating in the Polish Sejm.
Chodzi tutaj o ratowanie.
This is about bailing out, in my opinion, the totally discredited Pegasus Commission, which is simply not doing well. Meanwhile, as reported by Rzeczpospolita, the desertion of members of the special prosecution team investigating the alleged Pegasus scandal is underway.
Ta władza kończy się. Każdy to
Their
doskonale
governance
wie.
is coming to an end. Everyone knows it very well, so everyone is also starting to wonder today if it's worth it to just lay down their heads for what the Civic Coalition has wrought on Poland. The very context of declassifying and making public the documents, which are not archival at all, is also puzzling. The Bodnar prosecutor's office behaved quite differently towards Mariusz Błaszczak, who, as head of the Ministry of Defense, declassified and then made public fragments of plans from the time of the Tusk-Putin reset, which in the event of a Russian invasion, de facto gave half of Poland into the hands of the aggressor.
Hipokryzja rządzących stawiają
The hypocrisy of those in power. They make accusations through their very political demands to declassify archival documents. And here you go. They very much declassify documents that concern the security of our country. Mariusz Błaszczak announced that he is filing a notice to the prosecutor's office against Adam Bodnar, who during the election campaign declassified documents that were not archived, containing, among other things, the procedures of the special services. This could be a mission of last resort. Donald Trump's special envoy is expected to convince Russian decision makers to agree to a ceasefire in Ukraine. This is expected to happen by the end of April. Otherwise, the United States will impose additional sanctions on Russia. So far, no change in the east. There were nearly 150 clashes on the front line yesterday alone. The Ukrainian army said it had repelled numerous Russian attacks, including drone strikes. However, without Western support, Ukraine's situation would be much worse. In Brussels, 31 defense ministers from the so-called Coalition of the Willing, led by Great Britain and France, decided on the next tranche of financial aid for Kyiv.
And the new pledges of military aid announced today through the UDCG total over 21 billion euros. A record boost in military funding for Ukraine.
Is one of the largest, and we're thankful to each nation that has provided this support.
However, at the same meeting, the German defense minister announced that Berlin is not able to provide Ukraine with more Patriot anti-aircraft systems.
As you know, Germany provided already 4 full systems of Patriot. We are not able to provide any more for the moment because we are waiting for being provided by Raytheon in the years to come, which will start only in 27.
Ukraine has agreed to Trump's plan and to a ceasefire, but is also bracing itself for a possible breakup of the talks by Russia. In Kharkiv, more groups of civilians are getting basic military training. More and more women are taking up arms. I think this way we are closer to our men, our soldiers. We are helping them, but we are also beginning to understand what they are going through. Ukrainians are encouraged by visits like this one. Yesterday, Great Britain's Prince Harry made a surprise visit to Western Ukraine to meet with wounded veterans. Some of these soldiers, because of the war, will never return to full strength again. A cruise helicopter broke up in midair over New York City and plummeted into the Hudson River. The crash killed the pilot and a family of 5 tourists from Spain.
Oh my God! Oh my gosh!
Footage and witness accounts showed that the machine fell apart in midair. The footage shows parts of the helicopter spinning and falling into the water.
So I looked out my window and I saw a helicopter falling to pieces. I saw several pieces come off of it. They all smashed into the water. It was very scary to see.
Victims include the CEO of Siemens, his wife, 3 children, and their pilot.
All 6 victims have been removed from the water, and sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased. Again, we're praying for the families and our gratitude to the rescuers and the courage that was displayed in their dedication.
Within minutes of the crash, boats with rescuers appeared at the place where the machine fell into the water. In the evening, the wreckage of the machine was pulled out.
At approximately 3:17 this afternoon, multiple 911 calls started coming in, reporting a helicopter crash in the Hudson River near the New Jersey coastline off the coast of River Drive in Hoboken. NYPD units from aviation, harbor, scuba, and patrol all responded, with our first units arriving at the site within minutes.
The Federal Aviation Administration said the helicopter that crashed, a Bell 206, was originally used by the U.S. Armed Forces, after which it was adapted for civilian use. U.S. President Donald Trump, in a post on Truth Social, called the crash horrendous. Terrible helicopter crash in the Hudson River. Looks like 6 people, the pilot, 2 adults, and 3 children are no longer with us. The footage of the accident is horrendous. God bless the families and friends of the victims. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy and his talented staff are on it. Announcements as to exactly what took place and how will be made shortly. In New York, at least 38 people have died in helicopter crashes since 1977. In 2009, 9 people were killed. In June 2013, the same model of helicopter made an emergency landing on the Hudson River. Everyone came out of the incident unharmed. On January 29th of this year, there was a mid-air collision between a plane and a military helicopter over Washington, D.C. 67 people died that day.